We're being asked to solve this literal equation for z. That means that we're kind of focusing all of our attention here, and we have this imaginary line at the equal sign. So you have one side and the other, and we're trying to get this z to be all by itself. Anytime we're solving, we're going back to our old friend order of operations, but because we're undoing it, we're doing the whole process backwards. So instead of doing, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, we're going to work our way up. This z is trapped inside of these parentheses. So when I start down here at the bottom and I say to myself, is there anything to add or subtract? I'm looking strictly outside of those parentheses because that's way up here at the top. And of course, outside these parentheses, there's nothing to add or subtract. So I don't have to worry about anything there. I work my way up. I'm doing things backwards. And I'm saying, is there anything to multiply or divide? And of course, this p's hanging out over here. I'm going to divide both sides by that because that p is multiplying and I want to do the opposite. That's going to give me something like x over p equals y minus z. Now because that p is gone, there's really no reason to have those parentheses anymore, so we can just not write them down. They can just go away. And that kind of puts us all the way back down at the beginning, because we worked our way up here, parentheses are now gone, and now we have to kind of start fresh and say, okay, we're still trying to get this z by itself. Is there anything to add or subtract? And I guess this y, it's not really being added, but like these two things are being subtracted from one another. So if I want to get rid of the y, I'm going to use a negative y and a negative y. And the left side will then become x over p minus y, because they're not like terms and I can't combine them. And the right side, I've got that z, but be careful, I still got that negative sign as well. That has to be respected. The way you should think about that is kind of like a negative 1 times z. So if I'm still working through this order of operations backwards, I've taken care of addition and subtraction. Now I'm looking at multiplication or division. And this z is being multiplied by this negative 1. So I'll divide by negative 1 and divide this side by negative 1. Now this is not a step that I usually write out this way. It looks kind of gross. What I do think to myself is, if I have a situation where negative z is equaling x over p minus y, it's kind of easier just to think about like that negative 1's got to go, so I'm going to flip the sign on every part of this thing. So this, what's positive becomes negative, what's negative becomes positive. So a good answer is z equals negative x over p plus y. And just like for the record, you could also write that as z equals positive y minus x over p. So there are other acceptable answers if you do different things. Like some people like to start this problem off by distributing and then isolating the z, and you get equivalent but different looking answers that I show in the notes. But in general, this is kind of how I want you to attack things. But if your answer is correct and you got there with correct methods and it's reduced, it does not need to look exactly like my answer. So as problems come up, let me know and we'll see how that goes. All right, bye.